Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Millennial Economics. This episode, we are going to talk about how to develop your personal finance strategy. And I'm super excited to talk with you today about your personal finance strategy, because the strategy that you develop around your personal finances, what your philosophy is about investing, how to budget, all of these things is going to be core to achieving your financial goals, which at the end of the day is why we're here, why we do what we do. You know, some of those goals might be to retire early or to have a specific amount of money for retirement, or maybe something as simple as saving up for a down payment, or just getting out of debt and being able to finally get ahead with your finances instead of always feeling like you're behind. And so I've been at each of those phases. I've been deeply in debt. I've been at the point where I've made poor financial choices and I need to dig my way out. And I've kind of had a journey past that point to really start have fun with my finances and figure out what my goals are and what my dreams are and how I can use personal finance knowledge and managing my personal finances and developing my personal strategy, my personal finance strategy to be able to achieve those goals, which is super exciting. So we're going to talk exactly about that today. To get started, we first need to decide what a personal finance strategy even is, okay? To me, a personal finance strategy is simply what's my philosophy around what I'm doing with my money, okay? What do I believe I should be allocating my monthly margin to? So the amount of money that I have after my income and all of my outgoing, what's my monthly margin and what am I doing with that money? What's my strategy around debt and how I'm going to pay it off or how I'm going to stay out of it, or even what type of debt I'm okay with? What's my strategy surrounding investing? What's my strategy around planning my goals? Okay, that's a personal finance strategy. Another way to think about it simply is, what is my philosophy with my personal finances? Okay, it's very, very important for us to have that because it's going to dictate exactly what we do at each step along the way with our finances. Why is it important? If you don't know where you're going and you don't know how to get there, chances are you're going to end up a place that you may not fully desire, or you're going to feel lost, and the disciplines that you're placing in your life to achieve these goals, you're just going to fall off the train with, right? You're going to fall right off the track. If you feel like you're grasping at this and grasping at that, and well, I don't fully know what I believe about investing because I'm not very educated, and I don't fully know why I'm becoming debt-free and why I'm trying to take control over my finances, you're going to become lost, and chances are you're going to give up. Okay, so the reason why these things are important is because it's going to be what we hold on to moving forward. One thing that I really want to point out as well is that personal finance strategies and philosophies change over time. All right. I went from a place years and years ago where I was $40,000, $50,000 in debt, and not good debt, consumer debt. So my personal finance philosophy was, how on fire do I want to be at getting this debt paid off? Why do I want to get this debt paid off? And I thought a lot about that. And I built up a philosophy that I did not want to be bound to my debtors for years and years to come, okay? Especially as I get into the years where I'm earning more money, I didn't want to have nothing to show for that, all right? So my personal finance philosophy, or my personal finance strategy to start, was simply get as far away from these debtors of this consumer debt, this high interest debt that I have, as possible. All right, and just to give you guys a little bit of background into kind of what me and my family were at, or where me and my family were at and what we were experiencing. You know, we were in debt with cars. We were in debt with credit cards. We were in debt with personal loans. We were in debt with furniture. When we bought our first house, we put it on a credit card. And I was at a point in my life where I really just found that all I was doing was keeping up. I was never getting ahead. All right. So as I started to learn about personal finance, I started to develop a personal finance strategy of getting out of debt. So what did I do? Well, I put a budget in place. I took control of my finances. I started telling my money where it needed to go. And eventually we got out of debt, and we got past that point to where we could start telling our money where we wanted it to go and start building strategies to then achieve our dreams, okay, to achieve our goals. So yeah, why is it important? It dictates everything that we do, okay? Before we move on, if you find this content helpful, if you want to save this video for later viewing, maybe as a reminder later on in a couple months, if you would like the video, that greatly helps me, and it will also save it on your likes playlist, which is super helpful. I would also love for you all to comment just kind of where you're at with your personal finance strategy. What are you paying a lot of attention to? What's developing your philosophy? I would love to engage with you all that way in the comment section. And lastly, if you would subscribe, that greatly helps the video, yes, but we're also coming out with tons of new content here on Millennial Economics. And my general philosophy is that, I don't want this channel, I don't want these videos to be kind of pie in the sky, just very ethereal knowledge, right? I want it to be very practical knowledge from an average guy that's been deep in debt, that had no knowledge of personal finance. I want to be able to share with you what my journeys look like and what I've learned along the way to get to the point that I am now, where I understand investing, I'm taking control of my money, I'm building wealth. Okay, so that's what you're gonna get. So we'll kind of move on. The next thing we need to ask ourselves are how to start, right? How do we even start building and developing our personal finance strategy? The first thing that we need to do is develop our goals. Okay, and as I mentioned before, our goals are going to change, but we need to take a sit down and we need to write down and really flesh out what our goals are going to be. Okay, and we talked about some of these before. Maybe you're really early on in your personal finance journey and your goal is simply to just learn about personal finance, right? So maybe by the end of this year, you want to have an understanding of all the key components of personal finance so you can start taking control of your money. That's a great goal. Okay, maybe you are where I was at several years back and you feel like you are living paycheck to paycheck, even though you feel like you're earning good money. You are seeing all these people investing their money and building their wealth, and you're getting to an age where, you really want to start experiencing some of that, but you just haven't been able to because you've made poor financial choices. Been there, done that. And so your personal finance strategy is going to center around paying off debt. Maybe you are at a place where you're debt-free, but you really want to start accomplishing some goals that are fairly common in life, like purchasing a home. Maybe you want to start having some children. Maybe you want to save up and be able to have an inheritance for your kids when you pass away. These are all really, really good things. Maybe your personal finance strategy is going to center around completely retiring early. So maybe you're giving yourself 15 years and you want to align everything that you do to retiring early. Okay, these are all fantastic goals, and each goal is going to be unique to you. So what my challenge for you would be is to start by simply sitting down, taking a pen. I always have a pen handy, taking some paper, and developing what your goals actually are. What's the next step? You need to learn to manage your income and manage what's outgoing. Typically that's done simply through developing a budget, all right? And this might seem very elementary, but a lot of people that I run into don't manage their money and don't know how much money, number one, that they are coming in with, right? That they're making every month. They understand, yeah, I make 40K, 50K, 100K every year, but they don't understand after taxes, after insurance, even after 401k contributions, what is hitting my bank account? What do I have to work with? Okay. So after your goals, you need to manage how much money is coming in, and you need to have a definitive number of that. And then you need to manage what's going out, and you need to have a good understanding of what that is and how that fluctuates. All right. I just got done sitting down and recording episode 81 of the Millennial Economics podcast, where we talked about budgeting. But essentially, simply what a budget is seeing how much money you have, you put that at the top, and then you have all these line items as the spreadsheet goes down, is what I work off of, a spreadsheet. And you have all these topics, and you fill in how much money is coming out of your paycheck, or coming out of your bank account for all of those topics, right? Some of those categories might be a mortgage, some might be groceries, some might be entertainment, some might be utilities, some might be just simply having fun, right? But you need to know what's going to be coming out of your account every month. And that's going to lead us to point 3, which is your monthly margin. You need to get to a point where you understand how much margin you have at the end of each month. Okay, and simply what monthly margin is your total income minus your total outgoing. How much do I have left? All right, for some of us, that might be $5. All right, and if what you do with that monthly margin, we'll say, is going to be dictated by your goals. All right, and these are why the goals are so important. So when we figure out where all of our money's going, what do we do with the extra money that we have? Maybe when you get to this point, you might realize, oh my gosh, I hardly have any monthly margin, right? And maybe my goal is to become debt-free. Well, I need to get more monthly margin. Okay. So maybe your goals and your personal financial philosophy takes you to getting another job, or maybe it takes you to cutting down on some of these line items that you have on your monthly budget. Maybe you have more monthly margin than you realized, and you don't have anything to show for it. Okay, that's where a lot of people find themselves is, oh my gosh, after all of my expenses, things that I'm planning on spending, I have this huge lump sum of money, but at the end of the month, I don't know where it is. I have nothing to show for it, right? So you dig a little deeper, and maybe your personal financial philosophy starts turning into making sure that you increase the level of self-discipline that you have so that you can actually allocate these funds where they need to go and you have something to show for it, all right? Before we move on to, I just want to get a quick word in for Acorns. Acorns is a platform that I've used that I think is fantastic for not only beginner investors, but also in people that like to have an easy set it and forget it way to invest every month or every day if you'd like. I've used Acorns, I want to say, for about 5 years, and it's a cornerstone of what I use for my personal investing. If you use the referral link below, when you sign up, you get $5 free added to your account, and I get a little kickback as well. So if you're looking for a way to invest that's very easy to understand, easy to stick with, Acorns, I think, is a great option for you. But we'll move on. The next thing that we really want to do is track our progress. Okay, so at this point, we have developed what our monthly margin is. We've gotten that to a number where we're comfortable with, right, and what we're able to do. We have started to develop what we're going to do with that monthly margin based off of the goals on step 1 that we've placed for ourselves, okay? And we'll get into in other videos kind of how to invest, or where to sock away money, or how to pay off debt. We'll get into that, but at least right now with that monthly margin, you understand where your money's going to go. Okay, again, to give a few examples, if you're early on in your journey and you simply want to get out of debt, that monthly margin is going to be allocated toward paying off the debt. If you decided that you want to retire early, that monthly margin is going to be allocated toward investment accounts of some form or fashion that we'll talk about later. There's lots of options to get you to a point where you can retire early. If your goals center around buying a house, well, you're going to sock that money, that monthly margin, away into an account so you can get to the point where you have a down payment for a house, all right? But once we get to that point and we understand what we're doing with our monthly margin, we need to track our progress. And this is something that I feel a lot of people don't do, but tracking your progress is going to continue to give you the motivation that you need to stick with the plan that you have in place for yourself, all right? I always love to use this example. If you are going to the gym and you have a goal to bench press 225 pounds, all right? And you start going to the gym and you're only able to bench 135 pounds, and you just keep going to the gym and you're never pushing yourself, you're never tracking how many reps you've increased or how much weight you've been able to increase, eventually you're gonna kind of get burnt out because you're not gonna know that all the work you're putting in is actually doing anything, all right? So when we track our progress, we're able to kind of feel good about ourselves with all the work that we've done, and it's going to push us to be able to continue the work that we're doing. Because let's be honest, developing and sticking to a personal finance strategy is not easy. Developing is kind of fun. I like to do that, and many of you probably like to do it as well. But sticking with that for years and years, which it often takes to achieve some of the goals we have for ourselves, is not always easy. There's temptation everywhere. There are companies and people all over that would love to have our money and would love to build their wealth with our monthly margin, okay? So tracking your progress is going to help you stay consistent. And then after you're tracking your progress, really the last step to developing a personal finance strategy is refine, refine, refine. Okay. You might be in a place now where you're debt-free, where you're deeply in debt and you want to become debt-free. Well, what happens when you become debt-free? You need to refine your personal finance strategy to be more catered toward the next goal that you have in place for yourself. Or maybe, today you believe that you want to retire early, but in 5 years, you decide that that's not really the goal that you want to be shooting for. You want to shoot for something a little different. Maybe you want to enjoy more of your money in the now as opposed to pushing it all off later. Or maybe your personal finance strategy is you would like to move to another country where your expenses are a lot less. You need to cater kind of what you're doing to be able to line up with those goals. All right. I think one big thing that we in the personal finance space lack is we don't give ourselves permission to change course. And sometimes changing course is absolutely vital to keeping us engaged with the goals that we have. Because the person that you will be next year and in 3 years and in 5 years is different than the person that's sitting behind that screen watching this video right now. And that is absolutely okay. Our situations form us, our knowledge forms us, the circumstances that will happen in the next 12 months are going to form you and your opinions, and that is absolutely okay, and that's what makes personal finance fun, is that we get to decide where we want to go, and we get to develop plans on how to get there. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you learned a little bit of how to develop your personal finance strategy. Again, in the comments below, I would love if you commented about where you're at with your personal finances, what your goals are, what is your philosophy right now, what are you focused on? And I look forward to interacting with you in the comments below. But thank you so much for tuning into another episode of Millennial Economics, and we will talk to you very soon.